Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today we're going to talk of the elusive peace in Kashmir. And to talk all this with me is General Pandey. General Pandey, good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot once again. It's an absolute pleasure for me to have you here and for all the audience. Uh, and your initial words, and then I'll give a bit of a background before we get into this whole story.
Yeah, good evening, sir, and Jai Hind. Thank you for having me over again. And I think it's a very contemporary topic which we'll be talking today. But before we start, and before you start, in fact, I want to wish all the sappers, Indian sappers, today a very great raising day. It happens to be Sapper Day, and that shot was very beautiful, sir. Though it was not from a gun, but surely from a launch pad, which is actually very great to happen. And
Yeah.
what a achievement! What a achievement, sir.
Yeah,
So,
great achievement. And yeah, like you, I echo your sentiments. We have the best sappers in the world uh, who've been maintaining us right from Andaman Nicobar right up to Siachen Glacier. If they were not there, we wouldn't be where we are.
correct,
Right.
sir.
With this, let me start the whole story. Uh, yeah, right. Uh, Everyone knows this is the map of uh, Jammu and Kashmir before Article 370 came into being. And, right, you see the Pak occupied Kashmir as it existed, Aksai Chin, and the territory ceded by Pakistan to China. That's a comes track. Right. Now, once the reorganization took place on the map, you see on the right, the blue part is the Ladakh area and the yellow part is the Jammu area. If you see on the major map, there's a line in between which signifies the difference. But then Kashmir, ever since our independence, has not has striven for peace and never got it. But there are few interesting things about Kashmir, or centrality of Kashmir lies around what I'm going to show you next. And from there we'll take off, and I'll hand it over to Pandey. But then we must understand Kashmir is the confluence of three nuclear powered nations. It's the battleground of conflicts between India and Pakistan and India and China. Right? It is also the confluence of Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, three great religions. Right? And if last but not the least, it's the last puzzle in the idea of India. And it is to sort out this puzzle that we spend a lot of our time. And to get a fresh view about all this, I'll now leave the floor to General Pandey. General Pandey, all yours. Please take over.
So I'll just take on from what you left on a slide. First, the last point first, sir. That I don't
Yeah,
think is the last puzzle in the idea of India. Yes, it's a one way to look at it, but I think Kashmir is the way through which I have articulated in number of my writings, and I have also articulated in number of my talks and otherwise. Is not the objective of Pakistan or the West or anybody. It is the way through which India has to be kept under the thumb. Right? There was a reason it was created for. It was created for keeping some distance from possibly a socialist emerging India from the communist leanings of uh, Russia or Soviet Russia that time, Soviet
yep.
Union that point of time. So that I feel now has become a religious reason as well, through which Pakistan also wants to keep on reaching out to our country. The second is when you see the map, sir. The map actually, when you look at it, and the heart and soul, the center of gravity, the problem is not this part of Jammu and Kashmir only. There is a very, very small portion when you look at Jammu and Kashmir. It is 1% of our country, 1% of our country in terms of landmass, and it's about 1% of our population. This space has kept the entire country and the region under flagellation. And why is it so? And I just want to sum it up in one line. Very brilliant people who have got genes of pure waters, pure saints, the rishis and munis, they got the DNA from them. They're offsprings of those people. Brilliant people who have all been packaged together in very small bowl. And therefore, when you have too many brilliant people, they'll always be in trouble all the time. It's very difficult to get a leader who can think simply straight and thereafter move forward. As I was discussing with you earlier, sir, when I move on, I just wanted to bring a fresh look, which I have been talking of in private, but I thought I will now put it out in the open. This is my observation and maybe my assertion. I've not had enough time to argue it on paper. The Indian subcontinent, sir, is populated with people who have great impressions from rumors or narratives in modern sense. Old time it was rumors, and in the current time we call it as narratives, and anybody can
Narrative. Yeah.
narrative
Talk
and
what he wants and build
yes,
a story about it.
yes. Information warfare is an imperative in today's environment, and shaping minds has become a central line of operation in all facets of time. So wherever you go today, shaping of mind is very, very important. Now, these people of our subcontinent, sir, are very perceptive, given to thinking and pondering over too much on issues, and therefore we, as Indians, are told are very argumentative. When I say Indians, means the entire Indian subcontinent people who are housed. You may be a Sri Lankan, you may be a Bangladeshi, you may be a Pakistani, or anybody. We are known to argue this thing. And in case the narrative is right, sir, we are capable of upstaging any power if it clicks into our mind that the narrative is right. And therefore, you'll see that people will ride on narratives in our country. The most unfortunate part is because of this narrative, sir, outsiders play very immense influence and they can rule us with lure or fear. Right? This is my observation in this thing. Unlike the Asians, when I say Asian, the rest of Asia, except for Indian subcontinent, including China, where they follow one ideology, one leader, without question, and they can die in millions. You know the march of in China and everything. They're extremely disciplined. They dislike outside interference. Very difficult to rule, very difficult to fear, and but they are controlled by their own people. And therefore, what are the two very common narratives, and which narratives are also true for Kashmir? And I'll talk of it later. One is about oppression and outsiders. Everybody, you go to anywhere in our subcontinent, somebody will be talking of oppression by the ruler, and you'll be talking of outsiders. You go to any place, any corner in our subcontinent, that will happen. And then, second is that minority is privileged and majority is dominating. This is the second theme which is used by the West, by inside, by outside, by everybody. And now, what is happening is that the leaders, opposition, ruler, whenever they are, wherever they are, they use statistics and anecdotes to use these narratives to their convenience. And this comes to the art of ambivalence, which I talk to control the mind of people, has been perfected by the leaders in Jammu and Kashmir. And I will be slightly more blunt, sir. In Jammu and Kashmir, everybody is irrelevant. You may be a Dogra Hindu, you may be a Dogra Pahadi, you may be a Gujar, you may be a Bakarwal, you may be Kishtwadi, Doda, Rajouri, Punchi. You may think that you are a hell of a important role player. They are all irrelevant. The entire central theme comes to a place called Kashmir, and in that also somewhere central Kashmir and down south is the one which rules the roost. The mind space is controlled here, and therefore when I say Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, actually I'll always mean Kashmiris from this part who are controlling this thing. They have mastered the art of ambivalence, and we'll just start by talking about give example. ambivalence on status of Jammu and Kashmir. Just prior to independence, the Maharaja ji wanted to have his own independent kingdom, right? But he was also very fearful that in a Muslim majority area, how am I going to continue this facet? So that is one challenge, and therefore this issue he kept on flogging India, Pakistan, and that is the time he came for that standstill agreement, which was advised by Sheikh Abdullah. And by the way, in this ambivalence, Sheikh Abdullah was using communism as an art, socialism as an art, or socialism as an ideology to browbeat the feudal lords or feudal king and get some degree of power for himself. In that also he was ambivalent. Does he want to go to Pakistan where Jinnah will control the shots and he'll be having a second fiddle? So this, or should he stay in India, or should he look for independence in which he will be the king, actually replacing the feudal king or replacing the Maharaja? So look at this aspect of ambivalence, and they were able to introduce this thing called 370, somewhere using this idea of ambivalence, convincing Nehru also in this facet. So they have mastered this art of ambivalence, and the beauty is that the people of Kashmir have also understood there is an ambivalence going out, but they have accepted it. And they know exactly that some statement will come out in Delhi, there'll be a different statement in Jammu, there'll be totally third view which will come out in Srinagar. And oh, by the way, when I go to my constituency, I may say something else. So they all understand, they are quite fine about this non-ambivalence, they're quite used to it, generationally it has been there. The second is ambivalence on this part of narrative I was talking of, oppression and outsiders. I just want to give another brief. Actually, it's a true oppression in Kashmir. Actually, Kashmir basically has happened for about 1,000 years from people from outside, particularly from the West. And they were the raiders from the Central Asian Republic or beyond Afghanistan, current Afghanistan, who came out primarily for lure of the goodies which the Kashmiris had to offer. Everything. It's a very resource-rich state, and people want to take stuff from here. But eventually, the conversion started. And when the conversion started, it was very brutal, and Kashmiris were not very easy to change because the lineage and the DNA they had got. But eventually, they were converted, and unfortunately, that oppression remained in the mind as a DNA for the Kashmiri people, which they talk of technically operation. You may give everything to a Kashmiri, but he will always lead to a word called oppression to this, and that too from outsiders. So his relation to outsiders stems from his history, a millennium of misuse and brutality which was from outside, in which the Sikhs and Dogras, when they came, they actually reinforced this aspect of brutality. They were no good than these people who came from the West. So it's very difficult to change the perception of outsiders for them. Other part of outsiders, I must very look at the ambivalence and contradiction. They love outsiders. They love outsiders if you're tourist. They love outsiders if you buy their stuff. They love outsiders if you get them NGO scholarship and they'll go study outside in the entire environment. They will love outsiders who will get the money part and all there. But yet they will talk of outsiders. The other facet of outsiders is that their ideological or the religious connect is from beyond the borders. In fact, most of them will look at the Saudis for their inspiration. Somebody look at Iran. Somebody will look at Pakistan. They've forgotten everything which was there in Kashmir. And the worst impact, what is happening to them is the ideology which comes from Western UP. Okay, started from Hanafi to Barelvi to what do you call Devbandi, then now Al Hadith. Each one extreme from the another one, trying to outdo the previous one, that how extremist ideology or radical I can be. And you imagine, sir, that a person when I was there, even as a GOC, and I has to bring out in various forum, there'll be people who will be coming to preach all the way from South India. And South Indians, if you're Keralite, and if you come to in summers in Kashmir, you'll feel cold. But they will all come in the winters as well. and settle down for a couple of months in the villages and out this thing. And those locals don't want them. But over a period of time, they have made space and they cannot be told to get away. And that is the worst thing which the outsiders can get, which they are unable to talk or get them out of the back, right? What has outsiders have done to Kashmiris, except for Ference, Kangri, some degree of decent behavior, which they are known for great graceful behavior, which also comes under doubt when I saw the assembly activity which
Yeah.
happened. Their respect for elders and women. These are three, four things which are very unique to Kashmiris. And of course, the plumes which come out in the winters of the Kangdi being burnt, and from every home you have the plumes. There is nothing in Kashmir which is Kashmiri. Their food habits have changed from rice and veggies and fish to what. Their clothing have changed. There is not a one bit of Kashmir which I remember I saw somewhere in the early 80s, or when you say the photographs of Kashmir. So everything in Kashmir has changed, including their old, those masjids they used to have, the Mawla masjids, have been taken over from an extreme end of masjid. So what I'm trying to say is this whole concept that outsiders, they love outsiders in case they have to come and work in their fields. They till the fields. They come for during the plucking of apple season. They'll come for making the bricks and making the houses. So it's all right when you come and make this thing. But oh, by the way, if you come and study in my schools and colleges and universities, I'll make a lot of noise about it. While our own children will go outside and study, there is not one decent middle class and above Kashmiri whose child will not study outside Kashmir, right? And he's more than welcome. And so, these are all contradictions, ambivalence about the issue of outsiders. The facet of outsider is also very unique. When you talk of who's an outsider, because they got Bakarwals, Gujars, they got divisions from north of Jhelum, south of Jhelum, division from north of Pir Panjal, south of Pir Panjal. There are fractures all which abound. It's very difficult for them to actually classify outsider. कौन सा outsider है, कहाँ का है? So if guy from Kishtwar comes to Kashmir and a Kashmiri goes to Kishtwar, that also becomes an outsider in some form or other. It's not very welcome thing in case you want to settle down. While Kashmiris have started settling down in Jammu, in Chandigarh, and everywhere else. And I'm sure you must be aware, large number of them have got residential properties, land properties all across outside the region of Kashmir, outside the UT of JNK. So this whole ambivalence, this contradiction, that I may be outsider elsewhere, but I should be welcome, but nobody from outside should come and stay here. And I want to bust a myth, frankly, sir, that like I have served enough in Jammu and Kashmir to go for domicile of JNK. I was offered as much. But frankly, why should I take a domicile and stay in Jammu and Kashmir when my home is somewhere else? Why should a Keralite or a Punjabi come and stay? So this whole noise of outsiders, everybody understands कि वो outsider नहीं आने वाला वहां पर कोई उनकी job लेने के लिए रहने के लिए. People will come, they'll only invest money. But this narrative, this lie is run by their leaders, which the public also knows, but they accept that lies quite happily. The second is this fact of minority and majority. Now you imagine, sir, Jammu and Kashmir, they are actually majority in terms of religion in the UT. But when you pitch them against the entire country, they come into minority. So if you want privileges in that form, you need to give some privileges down to the people who are minority today in their own environment. And that comes into play that one doesn't want. If you see the entire debate which is happening in the society, the government has gone right or wrong. I'm not wanting to support the government or not to agree with them. But the bottom line is that narrative comes out that why are you giving reservations to them, in which if the Kashmiri Muslims were worked against by so-called Hindus at some point of time because they had position of power and land, which also is not very correct. The fact is that today these people are also who are marginalized society. There are people who are scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, Pahadis, Gujar, Bakalwar. And when you look at the south of Pir Panjal, there are a large number of communities which remain this thing. And even in Kashmir Valley, there are communities which are untouchables. I'm sure you must be aware of. Now, nobody wants them to have equal rights and equal status and beyond. So these are major conflicts in which narratives are used by the leaders to put the fear in the mind of people. And that is when it comes outsider means the central leadership. While it is okay for me to engage with them to stay in power, but when I come in power, I need to flog the issue of central leadership or national parties or Delhi. Delhi becomes a very big fear in which everybody wants to challenge this environment. I just thought I wanted to just talk about it. The other part of operation, sir, which operation? 1947, in 1949, Sheikh Abdullah was elected as the leading the prime minister. He stayed at 53, got elected, took 75 seats. Everybody talks of it was through dubious system. He introduced a Zamindari system to ensure that the rich were robbed and it was fair distribution done to the poor. It was also with the intention of ensuring a mass base whenever democracy comes and you get the popular vote. And there is a system which was got nurtured of again based on recommendation. I am very sure so many people talk of this aspect of back of the envelope postings, and so there is a feudal lord was shifted out and a monarchical family came into being, in which the goodies were given out to people who were on their side. And I must say one thing, sir, that Kashmiris are very, very loyal people, and therefore they have paid back this time also in equal measure to national conference. And somebody used to ask me, "Ki, what will happen after this when BJP will come or this?" My view was always that national conference have invested 7.5 decades in ensuring certain degree of followership aren't easy to go. And if somebody else comes from outside, or outside means from this fold of this thing, you can see the emerging of new leadership within this thing, in which they are selling some other narratives. I'll talk about later. It is very difficult for them to come. They may be household hardline, household populist. It's very difficult to replace the family
Yeah,
per
I
se.
think
And yeah.
I think you made some very interesting points so far. Why peace remains elusive, right? If I have to ask that question, I think you've given some very strong points, which I'd like to reinforce and tell everyone the strong points, the major points which you made. Peace is a matter of what the people want. And if the people have to remain with a sense of ambivalence and this outsider inside the conflict, which is self imposed, then they'll never be at peace. It's a broken schism which is there. And then this business of oppression and outsiders, the contradictions of being oppressed and being outsider is a huge contradiction, which is inexplainable for themselves. Then the issue of majority versus minority. At one point of time, you are part of the majority. At one point of time, you are part of the minority. So you exercise your rights as a majority at one point of time, and you ask for your rights as a minority at another point of time at the blink of an eyelid. And then you want equal rights or more than equal rights and don't give the equal rights to the rest of your people. So these are the social schisms or political schism, call it what you want, or the fault lines which are there. I'm not talking of radicalism, and this is more of a beyond that. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think someone has to sort these issues out before we think of peace. Uh, yeah, please go on. I just thought I'll highlight these. I thought you made some very, very interesting points. The normal stories or radicalism is there, this is there, that is there, but you've given a deeper meaning to it. I'm glad. Please go ahead.
So, the mandate which NC has got, they are quite blessed to have that mandate. And while a lot of people will say it is an anti-BJP mandate, or it is anti 370 mandate, and restoration of 370 is imperative, uh, I just want to tell you the platform, sir. The fear which was put in the narratives of BJP will come, what will happen? The shame of 370 abrogation. But more importantly, I think there was also an anti-BTP wave because they had aligned with BJP. That got played up. Not that NC had not tried in its own time and they had not, tied up with Congress, or they did not try with BJP. I think, I'm sure somebody will write some story sometime later. But I think these issues, why they had to come back, was based on this culture of favoritism which they had instituted over a period of time. A lot of people in the environment are indebted to them, particularly from the central Kashmir and fringes of South, and this is where the maximum number of seats come. And when you add that anti-BJP and the fear of possibly BJP coming out, and that narrative that a couple of guys have got the support from the BJP and stuff like that, that went against all of them. I think, I'm quite sure the BJP knew that they aren't going to come up in any sort of a power except south of Pir Panjal. So I think they have come. They should not start believing that they have come on anti 370 uh, mandate only. There are so many other factors which have played on. What I also feel that today, sir, that the assembly has the peace has come to a pause button. Today, it is going to be about 3 weeks since the assembly has come to 2.5, 3 weeks. There's a pause button in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in Kashmir, in which everybody is now thinking which way to go. And this pause button is to rethink the strategic options, which I don't think when they're conducting their narrative, when they were going to the masses on the plan that we will get back our own status, which in any case BJP has promised, the central leadership promised it will come by its own, and to restore 370, etc. I think they should look at 3, 4 options. And the first option is that should they focus their energy on restoration of 370? Because it will require a lot of energy, right? The second is, when they step up on this point of 370, there are enough people when they will see, oh, now they're pushing on this. I need to go more hardline. Somebody is going to talk of generally about 1953, that status, that the powers and only four subjects will be handled by center and everything else will be handled by us. You know, to the pre 1965 and 1953, and then going back to 1947, and then also to the issue of going to take a vote on which side the Kashmiris want to go. There will always be now some new emerging extremist or radical thought from within the party itself who will want to dethrone the leaders. So I think these are two challenges who are waiting in line for doing all this. Or should they skip this art of ambivalence, come up front, and talk the talk which is required? The world is going ahead, the country is going ahead. What is bygone. If 370 was a thread which was giving some degree of attachment to the country, that thread has been now taken off, and now we are part and parcel of the country through which we have come this stage thus far. Because they would have not come thus far in terms of modernity and everything what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir, they need to just look across west. What is happening in POJK, what is happening in POGB, what is happening in Pakistan. Their fate would be much, much worse if they had thought of any other avenues option. It is only their attachment, they're part of a very growing emerging society that they are where they are. And therefore, they need to focus on energies to get into education, to get into job, and they must tell that the government jobs are just this much. Everybody can't get that job, and therefore I need to prepare you for job, and they need to work to bring in investment so that private industry invest their money there, and they get some jobs within Jammu and Kashmir and particularly in Kashmir, so that that youth remains committed and happy. Otherwise, the cycle, this pause, what levels of administration the previous government has set, that LG has set, or his led governance system has set, they have to actually measure up and go beyond to tell that politicians are relevant and they are not going to take back Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir back into the era which was there 30 years back or 20 years back or 15 years back. It is not very easy. They need to talk the talk which is required to be done. The chief minister they have selected, sir, I don't think he's the master of ambivalence. His father and his other previous generation were. He's a straight talking man who's content entitled, slightly content which bends on to arrogance because of his. He's not truly a politician, and he is educated. He wants to do good, and he's not a person who wants to seek advantage from a situation, and therefore possibly he may have to start looking to not only talk straight to the environment but talk straight to his own political leadership, to his own people, and say what is done, what is behind. It was a good thing which happened, and now we need to go for progress and prosperity through unity. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think you
just
made.
got.
Yeah, I think those are valid points. The business about Article 370. I think everyone in Pakistan knows that 370 can't come back. I mean, it's not going to come back because I don't think any. After all, if 370 has to be reinstated, it is the central authority in Delhi, the parliament in Delhi, which has to reinstate it. And I don't think anyone will reinstate it. It is not a matter of this BJP government or any government which comes ahead also will never reinstate it. That's gone. The point which you're making, which is important, is there's this entire ruckus which has happened in this assembly to say that no, no, we're going to pass a resolution for reinstatement of 370 and all is more of a narrative, right? It's a narrative which is being sold to themselves, and there's no turning the clock back. And what you said is right. As a whole, I think people of Kashmir have to learn to look ahead and not behind, and that behind is gone. I mean, you can keep driving this your car by looking at the rear view mirror, but you can only look at the rear view mirror and drive a car only if you're in reverse gear, right? They have to start looking through the windshield and see what's coming ahead. And they also have to see, like you rightly said, when what you see when you see ahead in the windshield in Kashmir, this is my view, is you look at one side of the road, you have Pakistan going down with a Katora Khan and company, and Asim Munir with a begging bowl, just going down the chute, and there's no coming out of it. And on the other side, you have things going well, the fastest growing economy. Kashmiris, I think, have to decide whether they want which side of life they want to be on. They want to go into a life of misery or the life of prosperity is their choice. They also have to realize that come what may, India will never let go of their land. India will never let go of Kashmir. India will never let go of them because they are our people. They have to be part of India, and I have no doubt about it. And India will never let Kashmir be going towards Pakistan or towards China. I think these realizations have to set in. In my own view, I think they've crossed the Rubicon. It's a matter of time that they will realize it. It might not be in our generation, but next generation will eventually come to that. So I'd like you to think of this and say your views on this.
Sir, what you're saying is right. The more important, I think, is not to uh, not to think that Indians own Kashmiris. I
Kashmir is on in Kashmir.
Kashmir is owned India, and There'll be odd people out on either side out of, you know, not everybody who from Jammu who goes gets somewhere clashed up once in a while. It is when you go and do something silly deliberately outside in the rest of the country, you may majority of the people ignore, but there will always be that one bad egg also, or maybe the right egg, who will come out and say, yeah, you stop this nonsense. How can you, be anti our country, right? So there'll be very, very minor aberrations. Nobody outside in the rest of the country calls Kashmiris as outsiders, right? Go to this, go to any five-star hotel or go to any city of our country. You will find a Kashmiri family or multiple Kashmiri family selling shawl or some wares or something. You go to any event, any hotel in Jaipur or any other place, you'll find guys working. In fact, I went to Jaisalmer and I went to a hotel and couple of boys came कि सर मैं तो वंतीपुर का हूँ, मैं अनंतनाग का हूँ, मैं बीज बिहारा का हूँ, and they took selfies, which they used to do it when I was a corps commander. Then I went to some other, I've gone to so many places wherever I stayed in a hotel or at a meal or even marriage functions. So this narrative of talk, outsiders coming, when two laborers get killed, वो बाहर वाला मर गया, they need to fight back for every man gets killed. Because if you don't fight back for that every man who gets killed, आपका नंबर बहुत जल्दी आएगा. Eventually they will
That's a
find,
fact.
terrorists or terrorism starts striking at home, and we need to learn this lesson from across. After all, they have reared the head of a tiger or a snake, which is now biting them off. So Kashmiris also need to talk. If something wrong goes to an outsider, so-called outsider who comes to your help to work for you, don't treat them with racist viewpoint or you need to see these Twitter stuff which goes on. It's very, very shabby at times. And actually, not all Kashmiris are like that. Majority of them are very, very graceful, decent, peace-loving people. The narrative shaping which is done by the leadership is the one which is dangerous, and they need to call them out. The moment they start calling them out, I guess they will know which side. So it is the people which will make difference. The second is that my worry is that very rapidly the population there is becoming a unitary population. That means they have not seen the elders who are 40, 50 years old or 60 years old. They have seen a population which is a mixed population. Quite a few Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs and even modern Muslims were there, right? Now, what is happening is that the so-called modern Muslims, not only Pandits have gone away, even the modern thinking Muslims who are constrained and choked by that ideologies persistence there, in which the women don't have the freedom to do what they have to do. They have started moving out. They need to actually work to that condition in which people must come to spend time in Kashmir to enjoy, not the Kashmiris wanting to leave Kashmir to enjoy and go outside. So, environment of peace, stability is not only in terms of non-violence or non-terrorist actions and not in protest. An environment of peace and stability has to come in which is modern, which is inclusive, wherein people from all walks of society, all types of religion, they can actually walk free of fear outside. And the day it starts happening, this very modern, actually, the DNA, I keep on telling, the DNA of Kashmiri is very, very modern and metropolitan. It is those last 1,000 years which has made them fearful, the way they are. They have to start looking forward. Their DNA will kick in case they start opening their mind and start looking forward.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point you make. That they are a unitary population where the more stable people, the more understanding people are now leaving Kashmir and going away. And People who are of importance, most of the children, everything, the progeny, the land, the riches are all outside. So what is left behind are those disaffected people or those people who refuse to change their mind. Yet we expect them to change their mind. How is it feasible? Because the persons who are left behind are those who are not prepared to change. The people who want to change, who have failed to change their own setup, are living. Until such time there's a balance in this. In any case, let's also be very practical. The Pandits and the Hindus who have left are not going to come back. The outsiders who come for daily wages are not going to settle there. One fine day he'll go, right? So then, if that is the case, how does this system or how do the people themselves uh, reconcile to the process which they set forward for themselves, unless they have a outside hand helping them? And that outside hand, where will it come from?
Sir, I'll give an answer. Look at these Gulf countries, right? I just want to take an example of Gulf
Yeah,
countries, right? They know that XYZ is a challenge. Where do the people come? People who are working there are all brilliant people from West, India, everywhere else, right? So when you want to have modern systems, modern jobs, modern technology, Kashmir's, Jammu and Kashmir, especially Kashmir's temperature and the conditions are quite akin to Switzerland and so many other places in the West where modern systems have come about. They have not been brought by the people who are actually local because of specialization requires a mix of people. You can't have specialists from your own kith and kin. मेरी ही फैमिली का आदमी काम करेगा. You got to get people who are masters of the thing. When an HFT factory was working in Kashmir, it was also a mix of locals but leadership which had come from outside, which was scientific scientists and the technicians who are there. So it is, I'm a military man, I can only give you logical answers. I'm not a politician. The politician needs to work the mind of the people that while we may follow, we may continue to slip into a radical extreme of religiosity or looking at extreme angle of being unique people who will not shake hand with anybody else. So you will only continue to go down backwards in your journey. If you want to modernize, like Saudis are doing, or Qataris, or Gulfis, or sorry, or what do you call Dubai is doing, so many other
yeah,
countries and
completely.
states, they're progressing. We need to learn from them rather than having to go through the path of their learning curve. So if you're smart, please see what is happening there and adopt those measures. I think you will find solution rather than calling people outsider, insider. इसको काम नहीं देंगे, उसको नहीं देंगे. There was a job thing which was being moving around, and they had circled this entire thing. देखो उसमें एक वो हिंदू है, वो कहीं बाहर का है, कहीं वो ना low grade job MP का बंदा है. But the more you take out from outside, you'll find more number of Kashmiris also working outside. And if that is the norm, everybody who from all states go outside and work and find favor there. But eventually, having worked, they go back to the respective own places until unless you're staying in a metro where your future generations have to work or place. The second point, which I thought I'll highlight in this. I just want to give an example of how mindsets are happening. A few years back, when I was a GOC in North Kashmir, I had gone to one of the places where I was very fond of one of the formations. I commanded the Lola formation. There's a very beautiful temple somewhere right in between the entire valley. It is a Shiv temple in which there's a ling of Shiv, and somebody had tried to break it up. And there's no force, there's no CRPF, police, or army post for a couple of kilometers. It was generally being looked after by the people, and the army chaps used to come once in a while and do deep cleaning. And it was just a closed temple, and the locals also had great this thing. A few years back, on one of the days, they cut a animal and they threw a carcass into the temple. So after a few days, when the soldiers, the message was late to soldiers that SSA ho gaya hai. So these guys came in the morning and they started cleaning up, you know, the every oldie of that village, the neighboring village, and that temple is slightly away from the nearest village. They came out and they said कि साहब ये आपका धर्म इजाजत नहीं देता, हम इसको साफ शुद्ध करके आपको we'll clean it up and make it pure and give it back to you. And we are sorry for it because the young couple of young troublemakers who have done it, they have been taught differently from outside preachers who don't follow our thought. And as they have not seen any Hindus or any Pandits, or they don't know any other way of life, they have done this. And we apologize. So there's a distinct difference from the youth which doesn't know anything outside what is happening. It is the responsibility of the political leadership to change the way of their people. Right? The choice is theirs, actually,
Yeah,
and frankly,
I think you
we have
make a
done our
very
bit and they're out, right?
yeah.
And
No, I don't think. Well, look, we've done our bit when in service and all that, but I think what we are doing now also goes a long way because now you're doing it from a completely different angle, and people you're just showing a mirror to them. It's good to show a mirror to their own society out of uniform. Yeah, you made a couple of interesting points. Very conservative societies like Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries and the Emirates, they're changing. The change there is so much. I mean, I'll just give one example that Dubai or the UAE and Israel have settled their differences. That deal is still not off between Israel and
yeah,
uh,
it's
UAE, right? And other day you saw Jennifer Lopez putting up a show in Saudi Arabia, right? In her attire, whatever it was, and being seen openly. So there's change happening there in the most conservative society from where they've imbibed a lot of pseudo culture, which is not akin to the land, has come from there. And it is the youth, like you rightly said, which is quite imbibed with that culture. They've gone more conservative and even to the extent of being more radical than what others are. It is like being more loyal than the king, that kind of a story. And you'll be looking at the politicians who you think will resolve the problem. My own view is that it is not the politician will swing the way people go because he wants votes and he wants to be in power. So, is there a case for us to use these conservative societies which are under change as examples to change this society? Because I don't know whether the Kashmiris will have a change from within.
yes.
That's my
So that is why I was just saying that they all love to hate outsiders. You know,
yeah
yeah. But unfortunately, they will imbibe all the wrong values from the outsiders, which
outsiders.
while they look towards Saudis for inspiration, even to Iran for inspiration. But the bottom line is, sir, they have adopted the ideologies which have come from within our country, actually. Right?
Yeah,
Most of these people are not so, regressive. They're quite modern in some sense or other. They want issues. You look at Pakistan went knocking all the doors after 370 abrogation. They all shoo them. They said, yeah, don't waste your time. Go ahead in life. It's a developing country, it's a progressive country. And oh, by the way, having followed that path, look where we have landed up. We are trying to get out of this whole nonsense and stay alive for our people, get progressive. These are talks and debates which are required to be done not only by getting those people here, right? And you look at the talks, they are all speaking so openly on. You will hear them talking the way what I'm saying on their podcast and their clips which are there, which are moving around. We need to have these debates in Kashmir, in which until the Kashmiris don't want to change, so nobody can change, right? And there are people, they are modern people, they are people with thought who are under threat at times. They need to be encouraged. They should not be pushed behind. These people are not the people who are looking for political power, so they are not competing with the politicians. The fact is they need to nurture these voices and not look at the voices which are regressive in thought and place. I'm sure you saw that clip. One young boy comes out and says, "ये लाल चौक के ऊपर दिवाली हो रही है," तो वो or something, of that
Yeah,
nature. He was not. I'm quite sure. While it may be organic for him to talk like this, it is an environment from where he's coming. But somebody gave a mic and a video in front of him to do all that nonsense. He may be an influencer. Somebody has given this idea to come out and see tum turant, hero ban jayega. So when you stop this stuff of herogiri by taking the rule of law into place, you will find people changing positively. But if you
yeah,
encourage by looking the other way, that he's a radical, but hum kya kare? This was my refrain every time I bring them out. That these guys are coming. Why are they coming? A South Indian will not come into summers to Kashmir because he feels cold. What is he doing spending 2 months, 3 months in a place which is cut off for a few months? And those people at the जो गांव का that oldies are telling me, जनाब हम कोशिश करते हैं but we can't help it. The administration is allowing. Why you are allowing them to come? So as a military person, I can't deny anybody access to
yeah,
any place. And those chaps are there. The change I saw on those fringes of Kashmir Valley, places like extremes of Uri, Tangdar, and Gurez, Tilil Valley, very modern people. Their women who used to work outside in field start getting inside. Right? So the dresses changed, the system changed because they were influencing, they were compelling as well at times. तुम कैसे क्या काम करो? I'm just looking at this facet. Religion is good, but it requires to be adopted slightly more carefully.
yeah. I think so. The major point that you made is change has to come from within. If they want to change, we'll have a change. And if they change, they'll get their peace. If they don't change from within, peace will remain elusive, right? And that's the way I look at it because no matter, look, let me give you a different example. When I left Tamil Nadu when I joined service way back in '74. I joined NDA and I left this place. In fact, '73. And after all these years in 2016, when I came back, I saw a distinct change in a lot of people here. One of the changes I saw was that there was more identity for the Muslims. The Muslims, when I left this place, didn't flout their identity, but I saw that identity being flouted here in the mode of dresses, name boards, all that. But at the same time, I saw that they were not being overt about it or rather aggressive about it. I suppose that was the influence which has crept in from what you said, the Saudi factor or the Gulf factor. People go there, come back with those modes. Some guys will all that. But society like the rest of India, right, where there are other influences, it's a heterogeneous society. So the whole story doesn't go to one end. But like you rightly said, in a unitary society like the valley, the change has to come from within. They have to decide whether it is just the dress mode they are looking at or is the mental mode they're looking at. And if that mental mode doesn't change, I don't see any one of us going to change. So I think we'll leave this with this thought. I mean, today we've spoken completely different from the normal. We've spoken of a societal problem. We've spoken of the problem of a people, the psyche of a people. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Many might not agree with your line of thinking. But then, in a democracy where we are all free to talk what we want to talk, people must listen to a different point of view. I'm glad this thing. You have anything to say? Otherwise, I'll take a few questions before we wrap up.
I think I'll answer whatever I have to answer in the questions if there are any.
Yeah, I think so. So the first view comes from Sonia. She says, Jai Hind to both generals. Let's celebrate the life of Major Shatan Singh of 13 Kumaon Regiment. Jai Hind. I think you must say a few words because after all, you commanded a battalion in the same area, and you must
Yeah. So
know
Sonia,
more about the Shatan.
I think how to talk of. I was there. I was commanding that area where you're referring to Rizangla and that Richenla area. I was the boss of that location uh, 20 years back. And every time I went to that place, it sent me, I had goosebumps, you know. And I have seen a lot of operations. I have seen very, very close shaves myself. I've seen enough deaths into the same. Nothing shakes me. But when you are standing there in pitch of summer, well clothed, and that wind, which is at about 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, hits your face, chills you to the bones, and then you wind up and you think that somewhere in the month of October, November, there were 114, sorry, 125 men who were fighting without equipment, bare weapons, which were, Second World War vintage, left quite isolated actually because they were stretched. They had no bunkers. They had just, I've gone into those trenches. There were hardly any trenches. They were prepared sangars kind of a stuff without any overhead protection. And when they would have taken this call that we are going to defend it last man, last bullet, we are taught this in our training institutions. We hold by this motto, and I'm an infantry officer to the boot. I always wonder what would have gone through the mind of Major Shatan Singh when he would have taken a call. We are all going to defend our country at this place and not fall back. And thank God to them that they destroyed, killed, stopped, butchered, and they sent a message to the Chinese: don't mess with us. After that, the Chinese have actually not messed with Indians, with us, with our Bharat, with our country. Briefly, they tried somewhere in 67, and thereafter they got a bloody nose. They again tried very recently in Galwan. You know what the status is. I think it's the ilks, the types of Major Shatan Singh. My head bows to him and to all the 114, because as part of the formation, I'll never forget this figure. They were awesome. They were superhuman beings. They were not 8 foot, 10 foot tall. They were our heroes. There are icons on which our army's traditions are nurtured. And trust me, Sonia, because of people like Major Shatan Singh, we will fight. I am retired, but yes, we'll continue to fight for the country because he's our figurehead to follow. Thank you.
Yeah. Next question. So, Kashmir is relatively peaceful. If at all a resolution to the Kashmir question is to be found, it shall be political in nature and decision taken by the people themselves. Your views. Look, that's what General Pandey has said, but I think you need to say it once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, till when are we going to keep on thinking that we need to decide, and which all part of our country will take a call? Which timeline is okay timelines? And trust me, Akash, I need to say this word here. In the histories of nations, these boundaries which have been divided by people will change always. There's nothing constant. It is just matter of geopolitical situation, economic situation. Some lines will move in, some lines will move out. You look at our own nation's boundaries have shifted so many times. They have got congested to this. Now, by the same logic, I'll only extend which part and how much small that part can be, which will resolve itself to become independent, and you want to allow it. Right? So I can assure you that you can go to center of UP and find that spot who will say, यार मेरे को तो अपना front झंडा चलाना है, मैं तो पुराना राजा था और नवाब था, or I want to go back, and this are the people who will now come to resolve and take a vote, and we will not decide that this is independent, and we will be able to sustain it. and we want our own prime minister and stuff like that in parliament, and we want to live. You'll always find that kind of a land anywhere. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. The bottom line is, which Kashmiri are you going to talk to about the political decision to be taken by them? Is it Kashmir Valley? Is it Jammu and Kashmir of the today's boundary? Is it Jammu and Kashmir which includes POJK? Is it the Jammu and Kashmir which is including Gilgit Baltistan?
Baltistan.
Is it including Ladakh? Is it going to that old? कौन सी लाइन आप किस लाइन पे जाना चाहते हैं और कब जाना चाहते हैं? So let's not get fooled by the political game plan. And in this whole ambivalence, everybody is benefited. While people have got killed, butchered, you know, when you look at in the line of 1 year, maybe about 40, 50 lives have gone this thing. When that death happens on that day, the next day people forget about the death. They continue to look at the advantage they get from the system. And that is the unfortunate part of Kashmir, is that everybody has benefited from the conflict which has taken place to their long-term loss. That long-term loss is that their mindsets are not at peace, the psychological orientation has changed. They are down the drain that they can't come back. It is so difficult for them to come back. It will take massive effort both by the locals and by our country itself to allow them to come back to be their old modern self which they used to be. That's the thing. So they can be always, and what political? They can be coerced. There are so many ways and means. Can you actually ensure that the narrative, the reach out, the spreading of message can be actually truly without shaping of the minds, without shaping of the layer? So things aren't that simple. I think when you start deciding to fracture our, and that is the intent. You fracture one today, the fracturing will take fast in the rest of the country very fast. You have to think about it before being very, very politely nice. Running a state or a country, I don't think, and thank God we are not running the state, at least I'm not there, is not
Yeah,
easy. So is not to be political master. These are responsibilities of very, very great nature.
right.
This is my view. Thank you.
Yeah, I go with you. Uh, right. Sir, we hear about de-radicalization, but no one ever details as to what is being done about it. Why does JNK government oblique locals allow outside mullahs to come in? Why do teachers fill poison in minds?
Yeah, I just want to give one small story, sir.
Yeah,
There,
please.
in I'm as a corps commander, I think we brought about nearly 200 boys back from the brink of becoming terrorist, right? And a very heart-touching incident happened in which old man, and most of them are people from very, very poor background, except for two or three ideological Sehrai or Manan. There are very few who are, they're all these people who get highly educated, they try and put the guns in the hand of the poor. This poor man comes with a sack of apples, which he had taken from small little orchard of his, and had come and left at the gate. He just simply said, कि साहब आपके आदमियों ने मेरे बच्चे को टेररिस्ट होने से बचा लिया, हमेशा आपका एहसान. He couldn't meet the so-called, I don't want to take the name of the brigade commander and others. Because of that one man and this NCO's indulgence to ensure that this boy came back from the brink of a terrorist, and that family was so indebted, that poor man shed. The problem of de-radicalization is it's not a very good word when me and you or sir or the government of India will talk about it. It has to come from the people within. And the moment we will talk, especially because I'm a Hindu, the moment I'll talk about de-radicalization will be taken amiss. Not only Kashmiris may like it and love it, but there's the rest of the world and the country which will talk very negatively about it. One is that. It is a democratic country. When it's a democratic country, how can you stop mullahs from coming inside? But yes, I am sure there can be legislations, there can be, the locals need to be empowered. The problem is that in about 30 years, when Jamaat-e-Islami realized that the steel frame of their administration is so strong, It cannot be bent or frayed. They went through the back door to put people inside. There are adequate number of people inside who would like for this kind of a preaching and this thing because it allows them to benefit in some way or other.
Yep.
This weaning out has to be done by the people, by the government
People.
itself.
Okay. Uh, what do you think is the most productive sector in Kashmir? Your views, sir. There has
No,
to be something
yeah,
positive which
yeah.
will help
Actually,
them turn.
the tourism is one place where it needs to be streamlined. Unfortunately, there is enough being done by the present government had done in last years. You can have the numbers coming on, but I think the quality of training which requires in which the second is adventure sport can be actually, and because of the trouble in this state, Jammu and Kashmir, in the UT, a lot of other states have benefited because all this tourism went up outside. Second is um, the the industries which are specialized tool which require controlled environment, cold environment. This is a very beautiful place where it can happen, and once this connectivity by train happens, I am told it'll take about 24 hours from Delhi to Srinagar to reach. We can have systems of technology development, research, making of specialized tools which require this kind of an environment which is cold, are sectors which will have high-end jobs, are good place. Education, the best of hostels are into the cloud climes in which these places can be utilized. So I think education is, and there are so many other sectors which are possible. And uh, again, I keep on saying I'm lucky to be a military man. I don't have to get into this, but these are my off the cuff
Yeah.
ideas. I've
Okay.
been talking about to the people on these subjects, so I can possibly give you this answer.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. This is another interesting question. One of my friends, Arunachal, was a professor in IIT. One of my friends who did his doctorate in aerospace engineering based in JNK as a professor lamented that he never got to teach his students. I think you need to give your views on this.
Yeah, it is sad because when there are two streams of education which happens, a large number of people want to learn, have been trained and psyched to learn uh, only about religion per se or history of the religion. So if you find the University of Kashmir and all the colleges, there'll be whole sections on this, but very few sections on tech. Right? It is not because of lack, because of unfortunate orientation of the population and ease. When he knows that after having done all this, I will get a job somewhere of about 15, 20,000 rupees, and he looks at that to be a Qazi or something, then naturally everybody will like to go on to the ease part of picking up a job. So they don't want to work. That view on technology is that much restricted. I'll cite a very quick example of a girl called Meher Rathar. She's called the biker girl. And her story is very strange. She was brilliant student, wanted to be a aerospace or aeronautical engineer. I don't remember what. She was narrating the story and came from a very affluent family. The family compelled her to marriage because towards the marriage, and that is the fate of girls not only in Kashmir but so many places of our country. Uh, and she married to a religious teacher kind of a person, and the health she went through. And thereafter, she had to break off the marriage, and then now she's leading a life. So, जहां पर दिमाग ही नहीं खुल सकता वहां पे वो बेचारा एरोस्पेस इंजीनियरिंग क्या पढ़ाएगा. So this anybody who wants to study modern stuff wants to come out of Kashmir and study elsewhere. And
Yep.
whereas again I'm saying that that place is fit for education industry to flourish.
Yeah. Thank you, General Sir, for explaining so well. Jai Hind. Thanks a lot, Sonia. Thanks a lot. It's our job. Uh, Major Shatan Singh, I think, is a legend. He lived through a legend beyond our lives also. So we must do our best for him. We just did what we are supposed to do. salute, sir. Right to both of us, sir. Tamil Nadu Muslims don't speak Hindi or Urdu; they speak only Tamil. Surprisingly, your view, sir. I
I will.
agree with you.
Huh.
Yeah, please. Go
I
ahead.
just want to say again, I will love Kashmir to have Kashmiri stuff back, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and in the entire, they have forgotten the language. Would you believe it? While
yeah.
they speak in Kashmiri language per se, they have forgotten the script. They don't write in. They are totally into. Anyway, I am just saying that they need to get
Yeah,
it
you're
back.
right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. That's what I think Srinivas is making this point. That people, there are a lot of Tamil Muslims in Tamil Nadu. I don't find them talking Arabic. They talk in Tamil still, and they do the normal things in Tamil. And so, same goes. You see, surprisingly, people don't know that Chennai is a very cosmopolitan place. You have a whole lot of Christians here.
So,
You have a whole lot of Muslims here, right? And of
so,
course, Hindus are there.
so.
And everyone respects everyone's religion in this place. I've never seen a communal riot happening ever. In fact, when I joined many places where communal riots are happening, I used to wonder why they're happening. It never happened here. And everyone sticks to this language. So I think there's a lot of thing which what you said. Unless Kashmiris discover their own roots, they're going to have their own problem. Mm. Yeah, yeah. This someone Javed Ali says, I heard that Shias of Kashmir are not demonstrating anti-India activities. Is it right?
Uh, Currently not, sir. But
Mm.
yes, either through compulsion, right? So, I was just talking about the majority and minority thing. So everybody understands what will happen to them eventually. I hope you understand the underlying meaning.
Yeah, I go with you. Right.
So
No.
while they also come up on the stage and they do all the business, and frankly, I will not like to comment very openly to.
Fine. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
this, this
the
is it.
fact is, they are not liked very much as well, huh? Yeah,
Yeah, they have their own problems,
they have got
Shias
one
and
problem.
Sunnis, and that is a very deep divide. This is a very interesting question Arunachal has thrown. All Bangladeshis speak Bengali but are still radicalized. Your views?
Yeah, sir, you're now throwing me into cesspool.
No, no.
I want to
I'll
talk.
answer
But
it. I
no,
have
no,
no
no.
issue.
Yeah, issue is not that. I think radicalization is also the factor of where you are. You know, Tamilians are Tamilians staying in a society which is multicultural, right? So, you will have Christians, you
Yeah,
will have Hindus, you got, and willingly you will like to celebrate everything. But when you look at Bangladesh or
obviously,
the
it's a
society,
unitary state. It's a unitary
unity state, and
place.
second is it was not radicalized till about 20-25 years back, 30 years back. There is a lot of hard work which has been taken by Bangladeshis themselves to destroy themselves, right? Again, yeah, you please,
And they've not given up on it. And they've
they're
not
not
given
doing
up
that.
on it.
You look at the pictures of Pakistani generals and their officers' wives. They all dress up in saris. Their formal functions, they come up in saris. Their elites dress up in saris. I'm talking Pakistanis, right? But these are all for elite, for people who live a multicultural environment and are different. But they will not want their own, because they want to control the levers. Similarly, in Bangladesh, and I have met so many Bangladeshis over my 10 years. I was staying with a Bangladeshi battalion in one of my UN missions. A very very modern society. Uh, I got enough instances to talk about their modernity, which I will not like to talk on live camera. But the problem is that they have worked hard by giving the handle to so many other people, to outsiders whom they love to hate. I was talking of the subcontinent problem, sir. This is a subcontinent
Yep.
problem. Yeah, they hated, majority of them hated Pakistanis, but they want to now love them because there has been a great amount of effort within themselves and from outside to achieve the status which they have. So I think everybody deserves the life they seek.
Yeah, I think everyone deserves the life they seek, and they will get what they seek. That's the way I look at it. I think we've had a terrific session, completely different from the normal way of thinking. We've gone on a completely different route. In fact, when General Pandey said, "Sir, I want to talk something different," I said, "Welcome, just speak your heart out." And I can see that he's spoken his heart out. Uh, we've not gone the normal route of doing cordon and search ops, this, that, identify, surveillance, and all that. We've spoken of a very psychological and a different layer which peace eludes Kashmir, right? And we leave it at that. I'd like to thank General Pandey for his candid views, and I think for a different way of looking at it. And I'd also like to thank all of you for giving some good questions. Some of these questions were thought provoking, as much as our discourse today was thought provoking. Hopefully, it is. And hopefully, a lot of Kashmiris will see it, and hopefully, a lot of people from across the LC, and the border also will see it, and hopefully, a lot of people, from south of Kashmir also see it, JNK. I've finished. Any final views, Devinder? Put it across, and then we'll say Jai Hind.
No, sir. My wife has told me you always sum up. Don't.
Okay, that's a nice one. Okay, right, folks. Tomorrow we're going to have another interesting talk. We're going to talk of the Zomi identity and nationhood, because that's come into question. That a lot of people don't understand what's happening there. So I am getting someone who's lived there, uh, Shaukin Chauhan, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow evening, 8 o'clock. Join in, and we'll have like this, like today, we'll have something vastly different, and we'll also tackle to some extent what's happening in Manipur. So till then, good evening to you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you and Jai Hind.
Jain, sir.